Hi students, welcome back to yet another video of business research method. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, that is sampling design. Before going to the topic, let me ask, when you go to a market and you want to purchase rice, okay, what you will do? You will take a small portion from that and you will check it, right? Similarly, while you are making a cup of tea, you want to check the sugar level. You will take a small portion from that and you will taste it. Okay. Finally, if the doctor asks you to check the blood level, we know 5 to 6 liters of blood is there in our human body. But they are taking only 5 to 10 ml of blood from the entire body. Okay. So they are selecting only a small portion. So selecting the small portion from the entire thing or population is called a sampling. So the simple definition of sampling is selecting a small portion from the entire population. Got it? Okay, now we can differentiate sample from sampling. Sample is a smaller representation of a large population, and sampling is a process of selecting a subset of randomized number of the members of the population of a study. In other words, sampling is the selection of a certain percentage of group item according to a predetermined plan. Now look this picture. It will help you to understand what is population and what is sample. Population is a group from which sample is selected. It is very broad when compared with a sample. A sample is a part of population which is carefully selected to represent the population. So, sample is selected from population. Population is a large group and a sample is a small group. Within the population, sample is selected. So, hope you clear the term what is population and what is sample. Okay, now we can discuss what is sampling design. Sampling design is a design or a working plan that specify the population frame, sample size, sample selection and estimation method in detail. In other words, a sample design is a definite plan for obtaining a sample from a given population. So it refers to the technique or procedure the researcher would adopt in selecting items for the sample. Okay, now we have a look on sampling process or steps in sampling design. Sampling process consists of 7 steps. They are: define the population, specify sampling frame, specify sampling unit, specify sampling method or technique, determining sampling size, specify sampling plan and select the sample. So now we can discuss each steps in detail. So the first step is defining the target population or universe. As I already told you that population is the group from which samples are selected. So a population should be defined in terms of elements, sampling unit, extent and time. So what is an element? An element is the object from which the information is collected. Then a sampling unit is a unit which containing the element. Now the next is extent. It refers to the geographical boundaries. Now the last one is time. It is the time period for data collection. So a population is the combination of all these things, that is elements, units, extent and time. So defining the target population is the first step in sampling process. A researcher should take utmost care before selecting a population or universe. Now the second step is determining the sampling frame or deciding the sampling frame. After defining the population, sampling frame is to be selected. Sampling frame is a list or set of direction for identifying target population. I repeat, sampling frame is a list or set of direction for identifying target population. Telephone book, directory, mail list, etc. are the examples of a sampling frame. Now the third step is identifying the sampling unit. As I already told you that a sampling unit is the element of population. A researcher should select those sample unit which must be more adequate for the study. So, the researcher should take a decision related to sampling unit before selecting the sample for the study. Simply, we can say that a sample unit are the individuals who are to be contacted for collecting data. Now, the next step is selection of sampling method. A number of methods are used for selecting samples. It includes probability sampling method and non-probability sampling method. So, out of these two methods, the researcher should select one method which is suitable for study. Determination of the sample size is the next step. This means taking decision regarding the number of samples to be taken for the study. Determination of sample size depends upon the type of study conducted and the resources available to the researcher. While determining the sample size, the researcher should give utmost care because the selected sample size should not be large or small. Both the situation will badly affect the research work. Now the next step is specifying the sampling plan. In this stage, the researcher should state the operational procedures for selection of the sample. That means he should decide the techniques which are used in selecting the items of sample. Now the next and last step is selecting the sample. This is the final step in sampling process. In this step, the researcher select the needed sample. So in this stage, office and field work is required for carrying out for the selection of the sample. So these are the steps which are included in sampling process. Once again, there are 7 steps which are included in sampling process. They are defining the population, specifying sampling frame, specifying sampling unit, specifying sampling method or technique, determination of the sampling size, specifying sampling plan, and finally selecting the sample. Now the next topic for today's discussion are features of a good sampling design. A good sample must possess some characteristics or features. So the features are, it should be representative, which means the outcome of a good sample design must be a truly representative sample. Now the second feature is, it has only small sampling error. When we select a good sampling design, which will result smaller sampling error. Now the third feature is selected sampling design must be viable, which means sampling design should be viable on the basis of budget constraint. Now the next feature is a good sample design must control the systematic bias, which means sampling design should be selected in such a manner that systematic bias can be controlled in a better way. Next feature of a good sampling design is results can be applied to the universe. So the meaning of this feature is, when we select a good sampling design, we can use the result of this sampling study in everywhere in the universe with a full of confidence. So these are the important features of a good sample. Once again, a good sample should be representative. It has a smaller sampling error. It must be viable. It must control systematic bias, and results can be applied to the universe. So now we have a look on the questions related with this area. So the questions are, what is sampling design? Explain the steps involved in sampling design. What are the features of a good sampling design? Okay students, today we discuss the concept sampling design. So we discuss what is sampling design, steps involved in sampling design, and features of a good sampling design. So hope you guys get the idea regarding this. Now let us wind up today's session. We can meet in our next class. Till then, bye. Take care.